President Rodrigo Duterte, the 16th President of the Philippines. His first name is Rodrigo Duterte and was born on March 28, 1945 at Maasin, Leyte, Philippines. His nickname is Digong, or also known as the Vanisher, with the zodiac sign of Aries, and political party PDP Laban, and mayor of Davao City from February 2, 1988 to March 19, 1998. June 30, 2001 to June 30, 2010, and June 30, 2013 to June 20, 2016. He is the mayor of Southern Davao City for more than 20 years. He is a former lawyer who has positioned himself as an authoritarian and anti-establishment leader. And he has warned that security forces will kill tens of thousands of criminals and ignore human rights, part of campaign pledged to eradicate drugs. The early life and mayor of Davao City. Duterte's father served as governor of the province of Davao, and his mother was a community activist who had a prominent role in the People Power movement that deposed the authoritarian President Ferdinand Marcos and restored democratic rule to the Philippines. Duterte earned a political science degree in 1968 from Lyceum of the Philippines University in Manila and a law degree in 1972 from San Beda College. In 1977, he joined the Davao City Prosecutor's Office, where he remained until he was appointed at 1986 Vice Mayor of that city. Duterte was elected mayor in 1988, and he was re-elected to that post twice over the subsequent decade. Because of term limit restrictions, he was barred from seeking re-election in 1998. But he successfully ran for a seat representing Davao in the Philippines House of Representatives. Upon the completion of that term in 2001, he returned to Davao City and once more elected mayor. Because the term limit restriction again came into force in 2010, he was elected vice mayor, and his Duterte Sara served as mayor. In 2013, returned to the mayor's office, this time with his son Paulo or Fulong serving as a vice mayor of Davao City. During his more than 2 decades as mayor of Davao City, the controversial politician transformed the city from a haven of lawlessness into one of the safest areas in Southeast Asia. Duterte's harsh crime-fighting tactics earned him the nicknames the Vanisher and Duterte Harry, in reference to the film character Dirty Harry, the ruthlessly effective police inspector portrayed by actor Clint Eastwood. But critics such as Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch claimed that Duterte was responsible for more than 1,000 extrajudicial killings. Rather than denying such allegations, he embraced them. The death squads that had carried out the killings operated with an impunity that implied official sanction. And Duterte often praised both their methods and their apparent results. In that way, he cultivated the image of a coarse pistol-toting vigilante in the moments leading up to the presidential election. His anti-establishment message took hold among a Filipino public weary of official corruption, and his brush over-the-top rhetoric led to comparisons of him to U.S. Republican presidential hopeful Donald Trump. And Duterte's position on the contested Spratly Islands, arguably the Philippines' most pressing foreign policy issue, caused consternation among the country's allies. He wavered unpredictably between a negotiated settlement with China and a claim that he would ride a jet ski to one of the disputed islands and plant a Filipino flag on it. On May 9, nearly 80% of eligible voters turned out for the election, and Duterte captured nearly as many votes as his two closest competitors combined. Within days of his landslide victory, Duterte vowed to reintroduce the death penalty, abolished in the Philippines in 2006, in concert with his promise to fatten all the fish in Manila Bay with the bodies of criminals. In a televised address in June, he endorsed a vigilantism by members of the public, stating that he would personally reward anyone who shot and killed a drug dealer. The Duterte presidency. On June 30, 2016, Duterte was inaugurated as President of the Philippines. In his first 6 months in office, more than 6,000 people were killed in Duterte's war on drugs. A fraction of those deaths occurred during police operations. The overwhelming majority were extrajudicial killings by death squads. Metro Manila's funeral parlors were strained beyond capacity, and hundreds of unidentified or unclaimed bodies were interred in mass burials. Human rights organizations and Roman Catholic officials spoke out against the bloodshed, but Duterte responded by accusing the church of corruption and the sexual abuse of children. Duterte started a nationwide campaign to rid the country of crime, corruption, and illegal drugs. He implemented an intensified war on drugs, which saw about 6,600 persons linked to the illegal drug trade killed as of July 2019, garnering international criticism. His administration withdrew the Philippines from the International Criminal Court following the court's launch of a preliminary examination into crimes against humanity allegedly committed by Duterte and other top officials. Duterte prioritized infrastructure spending, initiating the Build Infrastructure program. He initiated liberal economic reforms by amending the Foreign Investment Act of 1991 and Public Service Act to attract foreign investors, and reformed the country's tax system by signing the Tax Reform for Acceleration and Inclusion Law, and Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises Act, while raising sin taxes on non-essential goods. He took measures to eliminate corruption, red tape, and money laundering by establishing the Freedom of Information under the executive branch, signing the Ease of Doing Business Act, creating the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission, and strengthening the Anti-Money Laundering Act. In agricultural policy, he liberalized rice imports by signing the Rice Traffication Law to stabilize rice prices, granted free irrigation to small farmers, signed the Sagip-Saka Act, and created a trust fund for coconut farmers. Duterte also implemented an intensified campaign against terrorism and communist insurgency. He signed the controversial Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, and oversaw the 5-month-long Battle of Marawi, declaring martial law throughout Mindanao, and extending it for 2 years to ensure order in the island. He initially pursued peace talks with the Communist Party of the Philippines and appointed several left-leaning individuals to government positions, but canceled all negotiations in February 2017 following attacks and kidnapping of soldiers by New People's Army rebels, officially declaring the CPP-NPA as a terrorist group. He ordered the creation of a task force to end local communist armed conflict and the task force Balik-Loob for the reintegration of former communist rebels. He signed into law the Bangsamoro Organic Law or BOL, establishing the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, and signed proclamations granting amnesty to members of the Moro National Liberation Front and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. And Duterte also implementation the reproductive health law, banned smoking in public places nationwide, and set a price cap on select medicines. He oversaw the COVID-19 pandemic in the country, implementing strict lockdown measures, causing in 2020 a 9.5 contraction in the country's GDP, which eventually recovered to 5.6% in 2021 following gradual reopening of the economy and implementing a nationwide vaccination drive. Also, Duterte's domestic approval rating has been relatively high throughout his presidency despite criticism and international opposition to his anti-narcotics drive. And last but not the least, he is the first president from Mindanao and the first local chief executive to get elected straight to the office of the president.